Hello guys. So today we have our test with Google and we have got a hold of a couple of questions, not actually a couple of questions, but a lot of questions from last year. And what we have done is that I and Daryl, both from section A, we have split these questions between ourselves. And while the first part of the video is coming from my end, it's going to be around approximately of 10 minutes to 15 minutes. The second part of the video will come from Daryl. So what we'll do is we'll go through some of the questions that came last year. We'll try to understand some concepts that came in the exam last year. Also, the objective of the video is to help you understand the basics of YouTube. So even if you are stuck somewhere while giving the exam, you will have some basic idea after watching both the videos as to what to look for when you're not getting an answer. So we'll do that with the help of a lot of questions. And all these questions came last year. So just try to mark up them if possible. We'll start with the first question. So the question is asking us to refer to a Google tool if we are looking for a case study of the travel vertical. And the options that we have are Think with Google, Google News, YouTube search, Google Flights search, and Google Hotels search. Let's understand each option one by one. I'll start from the E. So E says that we should look for Google Hotel search to get our answer. That's not something that you should do because it won't give you any particular idea about the insights in the travel industry as of today. If you go to option D, again the same case. So both these sites, D and E, they are service sites of Google. So what Google does is they do not sell hotels and flights directly. They are they just curate all the data that is available in real time over internet, and they will just throw out the query, throw out the response to your query whenever you'll search, whenever you'll make a hotel or flight search. So if you'll go to flights on google.com or hotels on google.com, you can go ahead, search for hotels, search for flights, but the booking won't happen over there. So Google does earn advertising revenue from that platform, and Google might also not earn any revenue on that platform. The motive that Google has is that they want to make search accessible to the entire world. And if they want to make search accessible, then they will like to venture into all these sub verticals where people are searching for one or the other thing. And that's why they have ventured into these products as well. So you will get a hotels option, flights option, but they are not enough to get you any insights. YouTube search might look like a very compelling option, but YouTube search is vague. You will not find reliable case studies over there. Most of the videos are self-put, and there's no validity to the facts and the case studies that are put over there. Google News is a great platform to discover what is happening across the world with the particular subjects, brands. So what happens is as soon as you make a query on Google, go to google.com, search for anything. On the top, you'll have multiple tabs, which will say web, images, and news. Go to news. You'll see all the news that are related to that particular query listed one by one, generally as per reverse chronological order. So it's a very exhaustive tool. Some of the options that Google News provides you is to look specifically in particular time intervals in news that has come out. It will also, I'm not very sure if this exists anymore or not, but you can go ahead and check it. They also used to allow news from specific countries. I don't think that option is available anymore. But yeah, time duration is again a very important feature that Google News has. While Google News might feature all the trends, current trends, all the news from the past from travel vertical, it's still a news and it is not a case study. Think with Google is the correct answer. Think with Google is the initiative that was launched by Google way back. So all the leading frameworks, all the industry insights, they are published on Think with Google. In fact, most of the courses that Google now offers are also live on Think with Google. So that's your answer. We move to the next question then. Okay. So this question says that you are CMO of a company which sells. Let me see if I'm the right question. No, I was not on the right question. Okay. So we are looking at question number 8 for now, and this question says that DSAs are a great way to do what? So to be very frank, when I and Daryl were working on this, even we had no idea what DSA is. So the best way to go about this is that you open Google and you open a new tab, you write DSA Google Ads. It's important to insert Google Ads next to it because there might be some terminologies that are specific to some industries and they might pop up and they might end up wasting your time. So if I just search for DSA, I'm getting direct selling association. It doesn't make any sense. So it's important that you put Google Ads next to your query so that you get the correct answer. And that's dynamic search ads. Now, what are dynamic search ads? If you go to Google's link, you will find nothing over there. So you should know something about this, that your first search result is not going to give you any visual cue about what you're looking forward to. There is text and you will not find time to look at this text when you're in your exam. So what you have to do is make a search query and then go to images. In the images, you will be able to see one or the other option that will help you guide what DSA is. So this option is something that will help me. Okay, so this option is giving me some idea as to how DSA works. Now, considering that I have already worked in the industry and know as to what DSA is, but for someone who is looking at this for the first time, this is how you can infer images. So on the left-hand side, I can see that it doesn't look like an ad, rather it looks like a platform on which the ad was created, because I can see top brands best practices that is mentioned on the left side is also visible on the right side. What I can instantly notice is that display URL says that it's dynamically generated URL. So unlike most of the ads where we have to put a particular text and that text gets visible, over here it's going to be dynamically generated. So user will just give some options to Google, some conditions to Google, and Google will pick that particular any one of the given options as per the situation. So Google has a lot of factors as per what they go about those factors and then they pick the most optimal option. In this case, we have got some idea of what DSA is. So let's try and attempt this question. So the option one is that increase search coverage on websites with 1,000 pages. Now this is something that Google does. So what? So you should know something about Google. Google is not just about their website. Google is also about a lot of other platforms. So you take any popular website that, or maybe any popular blog that you follow, and there's a great chance that they might be running ads on their platform. These ads come from Google's network. So what happens is that I can go to my AdSense account, I can create an ad, and I can choose to advertise on your blog, and my ads will be visible on your blog, though they don't directly belong to Google, but my ads will be visible. Now that doesn't mean that as a company, I have a right to handpick blogs, but I can pick blogs that belong to certain industry, countries, and who have a certain target age. So I can go about those vague criteria and arrive at a narrower audience. So I cannot handpick blogs, but I can arrive at a cluster of blogs. So yeah, this is what Google Display Network does for you. And the second is that run search campaigns without, now this is something called KWs. Okay, so if you're not clear with KWs, then so a little commonsensical approach will be to fill in the word keywords here. But if you're unable to do that as well in exam, because I understand that it's a pressure situation. So write KWs in Google Ads. Yeah. So you'll see keyword, you will see keyword, and that should give you an idea that KW is keywords. I'll also take the opportunity to introduce Google Keyword Planner. So whenever we are running ads, we run ads for certain queries. Like I just searched KW Google Ads. So SEMrush is actually advertising right now for KW Google Ads keyword. So they must have gone to the AdWords profile, and they would have inserted the keyword KW Google Ads, where they would have told Google key whenever there's someone who's searching for KW Google Ads in India between 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or whatever time that is, show this ad to that person. Right? And keyword planner help us arrive at those insights. It helps us arrive at a judicious call as to if we should go about including a keyword in a campaign or not. So it will give us all the insights that we need, the number of visits it's getting, the region from which the visits are coming, what is the average cost that we might incur if we advertise for this particular keyword. So all those insights are available in Keyword Panel. I'm not getting into it because that will make the video very, very long. But yeah, we can run ads without keywords, because you just saw that, maybe I just close it, that the display ad is, so the ad that we saw was a textual ad. Display ad has got images, or maybe it has also got text attached to it, but then it will be generally a square format ad. It might also be a rectangular format ad, because it's a display ad, and it will be running on websites. And this ad is only driven by context, because you are not advertising on Google's platform. So Google can only control keywords if keywords are searched on their platform. Just because display search ads run on Google's advertising network, so like all the popular blogs that you follow, Google will not have an idea on what are the keywords that are highlighted in that particular page. So these ads only run on context and not on keywords. Automatically select headlines. We discussed this while we were discussing that particular ad copy. Match landing page to specific user query. That is something that we just discussed, that Google uses context to arrive at to decide if they like to advertise, they like to put up an ad on a particular website or not. Though to be very frank, the option D is very confusing for me as well. But why I still went with E is because I'm very sure that other three options are definitely correct. So why was I confused with D? Maybe I should also touch upon that, because it says that match landing page to specific user query. So user query goes into search engine, and then landing page, is popped up as per the user query, but it has got nothing to do with dynamic ads. Maybe dynamic ads visible on search engine is something that they are referring to, but this was a little vague. Still, we went for E because of obvious reasons. So this was about the second question. Now the third question. Okay, so it's a company called XYZ. It's a new entrant in the cashback market in India, and they want to make their presence known to customers in the industry. What should be their primary KPI? Now, two words to highlight over here. First is that they want to, or maybe one phrase is that they want to make their presence known. And the second keyword is KPI, which is key performance indicator. Again, go to Google, search, just search for KPI. It's a very popular term. You don't even have to write Google. If you write Google, you'll still get the answer. So what is the key performance indicator? So to define this word, key performance indicator is that one particular parameter on which I like to judge my success or failure. So it's a new brand that has just come into the market, and they are still trying to acquire new customers, and they should have an objective before they go about making their ad. So let's discuss all the objectives one by one and arrive at which one is the most optimal one. So driving offline sales, no, it's a cashback website. They can only function online. That is how cashback websites work. Growing loyalty, no, because they are new in the market. So right now, if they want to make their presence known, they should reach out to more and more people rather than having few very loyal customers, because gaining few loyal customers is a process that happens in a very long period of time. And that is also not the objective right now. So it's clearly mentioned in the question that they want to make their presence known to the customers in the industry. So they have to go a little wider and not narrow. App downloads, we don't even know if they have an app or not. Brand awareness, it's a very good option. Why? Because that is essentially what we are trying to do. So we'll park this option for now, and we'll come to it later and refute it. E says websites visits, a very good option, because that is what we want. We want more and more people to know us. We want more and more people to visit us. And yeah, and that's why website visits kind of make sense. Generating leads might look a very compelling option, but why we went ahead and negated this is because if you're trying to generate leads and you're only trying to reach to those customers who have the highest chance of conversion, in the question it's clearly mentioned that they want to make their presence known, and conversion is not what they're looking forward to. That's why the option is out. Now, why brand awareness is not the correct option is because brand awareness cannot be measured. You'll have to measure brand awareness with something tangible, like maybe what is my promoter score? You can't get it because the brand is new. And what is my recall value? You can't do it because you cannot conduct survey. So how many website visits am I getting? That's something that can indicate brand awareness, because If more and more people are visiting you, more and more people are getting to know you. So that's where answer 18 comes into picture. And we'll move to the next one. Just 3 more left from mine. Okay, so it's a luxury skincare brand that wants to drive brand awareness. The objective is given, the company is given, and the target is also given, which is young beauty makeup artists. So which 3 YouTube solutions align best to this marketing objective? Now, have a very closer look at luxury skin option. Just keep this somewhere in the back of your mind. We'll come back to as to why this is a why this makes sense in this question. So the first option is affinity audience. Consider this something very similar to a term called similar audience. So let's say that you have a target already available with you, and if this and you are about to shoot an ad to this particular target, and you have made a target as per the age, gender, not gender but age, interest, and their geography and all the other factors. So what Google will do is that we just discuss a display network. So what is a display network? Outside the ecosystem of Google, which is YouTube, Google search, there is a bigger world, blogs where advertisements happen, right? You open Truecaller app, you'll be able to see Google ads over there. That's in-app ads are coming. So the audience that lies in this world, which is outside Google, they will categorize that audience and they will try to match that audience to the target that you have decided. That is called affinity audience. Now it might sound confusing. So again, do the same thing that you did the last time. Go to Google, search for affinity audience Google Ads, and you will be able to see the key options right in front of you. So the first option will take you to a link where you can understand what audience targeting. So it is about audience targeting, but then again, you can have a look at affinity audience targeting as well. So this might be a little vague. So you can open the second link, which directly talks about affinity audiences. Right. So I won't get into the explanation. So this looks like a very valid option because brand awareness is our objective. When we say brand awareness, we want to reach to as many people as possible. So yes, it's a good way to go about this. Now bumper ads. Now what is a bumper ad? Let's go and search for this. So bumper ads Google. Okay. So again, you want to see what a bumper ad is because you might be using YouTube every day. So go to images and look for cues over there. So I can see this image and this image doesn't say anything. So that wasted my time. But this image is giving me some idea about what bumper ad can be. So whenever a video is playing, I can see some ads over there. Whenever I'm searching for something, there's an ad over there. Whenever I open YouTube, there's an ad over there, right? So these ad formats, now I won't get into the explanation because the video will become very long, but now you know the visual cue of what a bumper ad is. So this looks like a pretty evident, pretty obvious option to go for. Now, the next one is, so we'll park it over here for a minute. Now, in a similar way, you can search for TrueView InStream. In the similar way, you can search for TrueView Discovery. It's very easy to do that. Just do the same way, TrueView InStream, CTV, and Google. TrueView Discovery, Google, you'll be able to see this. Now, a TrueView InStream is something, so I'll tell you what that is. So 6-second ads that comes before a video plays, that is called TrueView InStream. It's a very expensive ad. It's one of the most expensive ads that are available on YouTube. And the reason why we are going for with option E for a new brand, or maybe for a brand that only wants to try awareness, why are we suggesting them so expensive option is because this is a luxury skincare brand. It's a luxury brand. They have a lot of money and their objective is to drive brand awareness. If this would have been a startup, we would have never recommended them bumper ads, never. And maybe bumper ads, so we can still recommend, but TrueView, so we can definitely not recommend. And it's a very personal thing, but from my experience, I will not even recommend their affinity audience because they'll get a lot of weak traffic, right? So they should go highly targeted about their product if they are a startup. But just because we have a luxury skin brand, they have money and their objective is to drive awareness, we'll go with the option that we just chose. Couple of more questions. Okay, so we were only able to see 3 options over here, so we marked it with the best that we could find. So which of these ad type would be most suited for maximizing reach in short video burst format? Now you can search for burst format ads, and you will be able to figure out what they are, just like the way I did, and more optimized towards mobile users. So mobile users is one thing that you should pay your attention to. Short video is the another thing, and video ad is another thing. Okay, so we need a video ad that is short and that is targeted to mobile users. Now, what is a bumper ad? An ad that comes for 6 seconds and goes. People on mobile do not have a good attention span. They are way more anxious on mobile than they are on laptop, and that's why bumper ad makes sense. Uh, so, okay, okay. So, I guess the answer of this should be true view in stream and not bumper ads. I just realized it. Just give me 1 second. So if I look for true view in stream, because bumper ad has got nothing to do with video. Bumper ads are static ads. Yeah, so my bad. I don't think it's going to be bumper ads, because bumper ads are static. They're only visible as a listing. So when you click on them, that is where they expand. So they are not short video series. True view in stream, they are short video series, because they are actually video. They play before an ad, before your video comes up. So I think iska answer C hoga. The answer is C. So just correct it yourself. If there's change, I'll discuss this with Daryl. This is bumper ads. I'll again come back to you guys, but I don't think this is bumper ads. Option A is YouTube masthead. Now masthead is crazy expensive. It's filthy expensive. So what happens is, whenever you open YouTube these days, you will see a very big banner on youtube.com that says that buy YouTube Premium. So earlier, that was an inventory that Google used to sell. It was a dedicated inventory, and it could have only been sold by dedicated ad managers. It's very expensive. Though the video plays over there, but that's only for laptop. I will not recommend this format to anyone across any format, because this is just very expensive. Yeah, unless you are somewhere like Pepsi or HCCP, yeah, that is where it makes sense to you. Else, it just doesn't make any sense to. It won't make sense to 99% advertising client agencies. Oh God, so 99% brands. Couple of more questions there. We'll do them very quick. So, what is a good example of a publisher in Google Display Network? A network has a lot of stakeholders. Now, the very first stakeholder is the client whose ad is uh, is to be published. A publisher is someone who publishes that, right? And this publisher is a third-party platform. So there are other stakeholders as well. I'll encourage you to go and search for stakeholders in advertising network. You will get a lot of idea. I won't cover this because the video has already been 23 minutes long. So Google Images, it's not a third-party platform. So no, you cannot advertise. So it's not a publisher. It's Google's own platform. Discover feed, I won't get into it. You can go ahead and search it, but this is again something that is not a third-party platform. Google News is their own, search is their own. Truecaller is the only odd one out. So even if you don't know what display network is, you don't know what publisher is, there's only one thing that is out, that is Truecaller, and you could have just gone for this option. So Truecaller, if you'll go, you'll see Google ads. The Truecaller is not a part of Google's ecosystem. You can still see their ads because they are a publisher. And the last question is, which of the following is not a valid proposition of remarketing list? Okay, so what is a remarketing list? We submit a list to Google. So Google takes it automatically from our website if we do some settings related to cookies. LinkedIn still allows you to upload email IDs of those people. So whenever someone visits your website, Google inserts a cookie onto their device. And from that point, wherever they go for the next 30 days, you have the liberty to show them ads across places. So blogs, Google's network, apps, you can show them ads everywhere where Google ads are displayed. So let's discuss all the 4 objectives and see what exactly remarketing serves. So re-engage with returning visitors. Yes. So people who visit on your website, they get to see your ads again and again. Option C, not B. B is the correct one. We'll come to that later. Drive conversions at a lower cost. No. Driving conversions at a lower cost is not an objective, because you are advertising someone again and again. So you are increasing your cost, but that is a cost that you are ready to bear because you have a decent chance of acquiring a customer over here. So though this is a positive investment, but lower cost, no, that is not the case. So improved cross device. Okay, so I stand corrected. So yes, it's a proposition that retargeting provides. Jamsa has gone over my head, so please pardon me. So why does it give at lower cost? Because now you don't have to go about targeting a lot of people. So retargeting ads are dirt cheap. They are very, very cheap. Like cost per million can be as, so cost per 1,000 ads can be as low as 200 or 300 rupees. And we pay cost per click. So whenever a new user discovers you on Google and clicks on your ad, you might end up paying even 100 or 200 rupees. But when that person comes onto your platform and then sees your ads anywhere, it's going to be very, very cheap. The ad can be as cheap as 2 paisa or 3 paisa. So that's why it drives the cost lower. If you're not running a retargeting ads, you will have to figure out new people every time. Every time they may discover you on search, you will have to pay 100 rupees, 200 rupees, 50 rupees, 40 rupees, which is way, way more expensive than what a person who has already visited your website would incur. And the next is the third one is to improve cross-device conversion rate, of course, because Google, you have logged in into your phone, you have logged into your laptop, and you have done that across devices that you have, all the devices that you might have. So even if you log in from one device, the cookie is inserted into your laptop in your browser, and Google essentially tags that cookie to your account. So Google knows that this particular person has visited this particular website. And even if you go to your phone or to your tablet or to something else, the ad will still be visible to you. Now, why it does not improve the percentage of the new audience of the website? Because I'm only showing ads to those people who have already visited my website. Then how can it attract new traffic to my website? There's no way of doing that, right? So that's why this option is out of picture. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry for making it a 27-minute long video. Sorry if I did any mistake. So I'm Anurag from Section E. Just let me know if I did some mistake. If you are not from Section E and if you're watching this video through some other channel, please either directly DM me or Daryl if you have any concerns, or go to Zyka group, tag any one of us, and we'll be happy to take your questions. One more note, a lot of these questions are very confusing. There is no one certain answer to a lot of questions. So if you feel that there are multiple answers that can go correct, go with the one that looks best for you. So yeah, best of luck.